And so now there's a war going on with who you really are and that personality that you had to create in order to be accepted in society. This is a true mission. This is a true mission, and we ask that anybody here, if you want to become part of Voices Around the World, we welcome you. You don't have to give money if you can. We welcome that because we need it. But help. Do little things. Become part of Voices Around the World, because it can't be done by one person. It can't be done by an organization. It has to be done globally by everybody. Absolutely.
Just getting back to the parents' role, based on what Gigi and Isabel and Lisa have been saying, it is our parenting and ability to be with these children that we really have to make sure that we're their best advocates and to know our children. And what everyone was explaining, like I mentioned, I have 4 straight A students who do very well on the physical that happen to be very spiritually gifted. But it's not because it's been easy for me. My oldest, the 6-year-old that I told you about before, who's now turning 13, since the time he was 3 years old in preschool, the private preschool I sent him to, that was very creative and artistic, until the kid wasn't doing what they wanted him to do. They wanted me to put him on medication. And I've always been an advocate for my child, and there was no way I was going down that road. But thinking I might be a parent who's a little bit blinded by the love of my own child, I did take him to psychologists. And I did go down that road, and all they could ever tell me is, he's really gifted, so he's smart, doesn't fit in, a little quirky, definitely a little quirky, I'm the first one to admit it. But you really have to discover them as individuals. Now, this child happens to be in the gifted program at school with some special teachers in elementary school. But even dealing with gifted teachers who might not be, like Gigi was saying, like thinking that you have to do things a particular way, knowing that some of these children might be different. She told me when he was in 5th grade, leaving that school, getting ready to go into middle school, you know, he doesn't do what the other kids do. And I said, well, what is he doing? He doesn't sit with the other kids. Well, Lisa and I had found out early on he's very energy sensitive. He doesn't like to be around a lot of people's energy. So he sits away from the crowd because he's more comfortable. He's empathic. He has those issues. I've made him feel comfortable with it. If you don't feel comfortable, you can move away as long as you can. And you're in a setting that allows it. Well, this teacher thinks she's being very open, and she says, well, you guys can sit where you want. So Jason, being a little different, sits on the floor away from everyone else. So when I go in, she says, there's something wrong with him. Like, he's sitting away from everybody on the floor. And I said, okay, well, what were the directions? She said, well, I told them they could sit where they want. I said, well, that's what he did. I said, did you ask him to join the group and to sit over there? She said, no. And I said, well, the other thing about Jason is he's a rule follower. If you ask him to join the crowd, he's going to do that. So tomorrow, when you have him, would you just ask him to come and sit with the group? He'll do that. The next day, goes and sits with the group. And she calls me, she said, Rita, I cannot believe he just, I said, why didn't you ever just talk to him? But that's what they set themselves up for. But she thought maybe a little medication might. And you know, and my youngest, who's 7, he needs a little extra help with reading, and he has a special reading teacher who I went in last week, and we're just like observing. He's doing pretty well, and this is my little lady. Very well, he's reading, pants in his pants, right? And I'm watching him, and as I'm watching him, I'm looking at my leg going. Now you guys can't see because we have a nice skirt here. My legs don't stop. I went through law school that way and graduated pretty high in my class. So you know what? I got ants in my pants and I'm 47 years old. But I did fine. I don't need medication to handle my ants in my pants. But she noticed that, and she said, do you notice that he has a little hard time? Do you think he might be allergic to the fabric softener or the detergent you're using? And I said, nah, that's just ants in his pants. And I said, I have the same thing. And I'm not going to do anything about his ants in the pants. So it's okay. You'll just have to adjust the book if you need to, or whatever. But that's the key. Knowing your child and really not being afraid to be the advocate for those children. Because if you are not, that school system will put them in the place that they want them to be, what they say is normal. And that's a child who sits there like this and does exactly what they're told and maybe isn't comfortable doing that or just needs a little extra space to let go of those ants in their pants. He's 7 years old. So I'm just saying, look, pay attention. You know your child or those children that may be around you that you're close with better than anyone else. Don't be afraid to be in your power, because if not, you're going to be put into that box that Lisa was mentioning before. And once you're in that box, very difficult to get out of. And I did have my oldest at a psychiatrist because that's how nervous they made me. In second grade, that teacher made me really crazy because he only wanted to talk to adults because he didn't connect with the kids that were less mature than him. So she thought something major was wrong with him. But I just want to say that that psychiatrist said there is nothing wrong with your child except that he's really smart. But if you want me to give him something to help calm him down, I will. So again, pay attention, because we are so pharmaceutical in this country. Everyone will put your kid in a place that you might not want them to be. And once you're in it, it's very difficult to get them out of it.
That's so true, because when Michael was diagnosed, I had to become his advocate. And I went into that school every time he was pulled in for a, what do they call that?
Assessment.
IPT, yes.
Oh, yeah.
And I sat there and I advocated for him. And he had a science teacher who he sat right up in front of, and she's working with the printer with her assistant. He hears her talking, and she goes, well, we're going to run out of red ink because everybody in this class is going to fail. And my son heard this, and he came home and he, would you believe she said this? And I went into that school, and I said to the counselor, and I brought my son right in to show him, you can count on me, I am here for you. I said, this science teacher sat there and told us in front of all of these kids, I want him out of that class now, today. Well, I'm sorry, Mrs. Bellini, I don't think we can do that. I want to bet. And I sat there for an hour, and I advocated for my son. And it's true. We do have to, and this will create trust within our children. As for little kids, Barbara, do you remember at a Task Force for Humanity meeting, there was a man there, and he has a 3-year-old daughter. And they were already talking about putting this child on medication. It is getting out of control. And this is why, and I thank everybody here, everybody, all of you for coming. I thank Holly, Isabel, Gigi, Lori, Barbara, and Rita, because we all have stories and we all have a message and we all want to see this planet and our children. They're our future. They are the future politicians, they are the future teachers, they are the future leaders. But we need to help them. We need to start planting the seeds, and we need to allow them to grow roots, and we need to have that tree built with new schools and new political systems, and get rid of the pharmaceuticals, because when I was sick, I had to pay for $1,000 every month. The only thing that got rid of my pain was essential oils that I was guided to buy by bringing those together, blessing them, and I actually put it on my hip, and I was feeling like somebody was taking a hammer and chiseling at the bone for 3 years. The oils took the pain away within 1 minute.